Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on August 26, 2022 at approximately, good question, 6:27 a.m. PST. Really should have my glasses on when I do that because, well, let's face it, can't exactly see, not yet, at this point. But that being said, you know, I mean, before I get into anything, I returned to this world at this time for one primary purpose, and that is to remind everybody, everybody in existence, that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. But it is going to take everybody doing their part. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the same tools that I personally use. The philosophies of life that I talk about are the ones that I personally live by. And it is because of this that I'm quite readily able to sit and go, okay, this is where I've made hiccups. Which brings us about today's topic. Now you're gonna have to bear with me, this is gonna make noise for a minute. Maybe. Which brings us about. Okay. So we go there. Now I know that it's working, so that works out well. Okay. But what I'm looking at today is literally boundaries and the importance thereof. And I mean your personal boundaries. Boy, is my throat jammed today. By the way, this is in case, I don't actually have to tell you this is live. It says so right there. But, and just a quick reminder, if you like the video, do give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel because there's a lot of information, there's a lot of hiccups that people go through. That it is my hope that by sharing some of what I'm going through and the way I deal with it, that I can help you avoid a hiccup. Okay, and you can avoid going through the same thing. Now, for me, I've overextended myself to the point that I consider it an absolute nosedive. But I also have a plan to bring it back into balance, and that is the whole catch to this. And I would love to know why my throat is seized. So obviously this is not going to be necessarily as long. Because don't know what I'm going to be doing about it. Hopefully it's coming through clear enough. Let's just check volume levels again and make sure. Where are we? Turn the volume on there. Just checking
Hopefully
to see what's
coming
through.
Okay,
it's coming through.
Just check volume levels again and make sure.
The fact that my throat is feeling like it's jammed tight doesn't necessarily mean much. I'm thinking this might be early for some people, sort of right in the middle of one thing, and that's okay, because the reality is, from my standpoint, it's a question of making sure I get back on track. But like I said, you have to put boundaries in place. Now, remember what I mentioned about this issue of absolutely help the people you can, but don't put yourself behind the 8 ball. Well, I'm not quite behind the 8 ball. I'm pretty badly, I'm pretty badly shortened up here. It's going to be a tight cut. If we look at it from pool vernacular, okay, I'm going to have to cut the shot really tight to actually get things back on track. But do I already know how to do it? Can I see the path I'm supposed to be in that I require being on? The answer is yes. Okay. And now it's just a question of following through with it one step at a time. Okay. It's kind of like there's a lot of similarities I can point out. But what we're looking at here is in order to get your life on track, the first thing you got to figure out is, are you content with where you're currently standing? Now, if I pull up this file I've been working on, this one right here, move it up there out of the way so I can actually see. One of the odd things here is I happen to have the 4 monitors here, attached, 3 extra monitors attached to my laptop. And if I go into here and go all the way to the bottom, there we go. 2 days ago, we had, 353 items to deal with. 353 items to get rid of the clutter in my house to make sure the energy is running properly. Well, currently, I happen to be down to 283. And I'll rack off a bunch more today. I did get the picture sent off to my artist in Texas, so I should be getting those back shortly. Now it's a question of going through and finding out exactly where I'm standing. Okay, so today one of the things that I have to do, and if you haven't already, kind of a critical necessity. Now, what did I do with that? Of course, it's not where it should be. Oh, there it is. It is so. I just moved it. This funny thing. Now, this little note that I keep to make certain that I stay on track. Okay, we have legally acquired a minimum of $3,800 by August 31st of 2022 at 1 minute to midnight. Now, here's the neat part. Okay, that 3,800. When I take a look at what I've got coming in, has been, where are we here? That's minimal, so we roll up, and at present, I've got. Right now, I've got, what do we got? 1,600, 1,700 that's come in. Okay, so far, but I have, at least that I'm aware of, at least another 1,300, so I might end up being short here. Needless to say, the last couple of months have been a little bit of a mess, because I've got 8, 16, 1,700 there, but I'll get another 850, another 1,350. So I'll probably be a little short depending. Okay. But you'll notice that I'm not actually cutting back what I'm aiming at. Okay. The critical issue is I will have enough money coming in. I do have to make certain that I've got at least 32 coming in because of the car payment and the storage unit. But I just worked and just got things sorted out this weekend, which means the inventory I've got out in storage can now come back to my house. Okay. And the Christmas stuff I've got out in storage, I've got a place already lined up for it. So again, I don't have a problem there. Okay, it's just a question of making certain that I go out and deal with things, that I make things happen. That's the reality behind it. Now, it is, again, I'm still looking at certain things that I haven't managed to get done. I'll be updating, like I've been doing the writing, that's been going well. But when we're talking about boundaries, you've got to plan, I should stay on track, really. You really do have to look at it and go, okay, what are the boundaries? What can I deal with? Now, this is where I made the mistake, and it's the one I'm cautioning you against. Because things were not going as well and I lost focus, I ended up helping somebody out that really did require it. They really required the assistance. But what I did was I ended up forgetting about my own bills. And the last couple of months has been an absolute shambles. Okay. So now I have to pick up the pieces. But I just sent the person that I was helping a letter stating that, look, no matter what you do, right now, I'm out of it. I'm out of room to work with. So you're going to have to deal with a few things. And that's just the reality behind it. Okay, so where are we here? I've got that worked out well. So anyway, when you place boundaries in place, when you put boundaries in place, and where is the one I need? I think that's it. Yep, this one here. This is the one that has my own policies and what have you. Like this folder is for the building of my well, quite literally, I wrote on the beginning of it, inner voice on the front of the page here. Okay, inner voice enterprises corporate structure. In all fairness, this is what I'm using to build an empire. And yeah, I know that sounds absolutely egocentric and way beyond reach, but let me put it this way. The way it was told to me when I was growing up was set your goals as high as you like. Shoot for the stars. Because even if you only hit the moon, you still got further than what you would have. Okay, but that requires a real solid look at yourself, a real solid look at what you see as your own limitations. Now, it's kind of comical when you think about it. Okay, I'm just a small individual. There's nothing special about me to speak of. But what I have come to understand is that when you put boundaries in place, once you come to understand that you are no less important, of no less value than the owner of the biggest corporation in the world. Okay, they are still an individual. They will still eventually die. Okay, they will die of whatever, but they're going to die. They're not taking anything with them. Okay, same as you. It doesn't matter how much material stuff you have. You're not taking anything with you. So you've got to put boundaries in place so you can enjoy the here and now. Now, for me, I've reached points. For you, you undoubtedly have reached points, and you're likely sitting here going, where do I go from here? Well, you start off with this. Where are you right now? Right this moment. Okay. I mean, I'm looking at this going, there is no way in all likelihood. Well, I know I can't. Okay. In the next 4 days, unless I have some sort of a massive windfall come in, I am not going to get up to level. But at this point, I have made a very definitive decision. Okay, I know what my money is looking like. I know exactly where it's sitting, and I know what I've got to compensate for. And with this in mind, that is where my focus is going to be. Because understand, the boundaries are for your emotional state, and the money doesn't care how you feel. Your material world will not give one iota about what you're feeling or what you're going through. Okay, it's just not going to happen that way. So you put the boundary in place that you are personally content with. Okay, and once you've done that, you go, okay, this is where I'm standing. How you got there is not the relevant concern. The fact that you're standing where you are is the same situation everybody in existence is facing. Okay, you're all right here, right now. However you got where you are, that is literally where you're standing. So with this in mind, very important that you go, okay, here's where I'm standing. Am I content? If you're not content, it's time to start changing the direction things are going. It's time to get the energy moved around. Now, you'll notice right now on this shelf, I've got less stuff on it right now. That will be filled pretty quick, but that's because the inventory I've got at home, or that I've got in the storage unit right now, will be coming here. Okay, it will be coming back into my office. My Christmas stuff that I've got in storage right now. I've got a place in the back room, a proper place out of the way that I will be able to put my Christmas stuff in without having a problem with it anymore. Okay, and that is the critical factor. Get it organized, get rid of the junk. Okay, move the junk where it needs to be. So that is ultimately what I'm going to be doing. Okay. That is saying also ultimately what you've got to be doing. Put a boundary in place. Put yourself as a critical priority. If you do not put yourself as a critical priority, you're going to run into snags. Okay. This is just the reality of it. Because what will happen is, oh, I can do without so I can help so and so. You can. There's no question. Done it often. Done it just recently. Problem is, you'll end up overextending yourself in all likelihood. And at that point, all of your generosity has become a liability. Okay. And I absolutely encourage you to be generous. Okay. This is why I take a look at people and go, okay, you've got to open the door and say, okay, yes, I do desire to help people, but I'm not about to sit here and go, and tell people that you should put your own life in jeopardy, if you will. I'm not talking about people giving up the money they've got. I'm talking about working with the surplus, because when you work with the surplus and you help the people around you, what'll end up happening is that will come back. Okay, society has gotten so caught up in this idea of self-gratification, of immediate, of self advancement, if you will, and immediate gratification, that they're not looking at the long term. Okay, and right now the long term isn't all that long. We're going down the same road that we went down, 1700 years ago ish, when the Roman Empire finally collapsed. We're doing exactly the same thing. People are so caught up in trying to get that $1 above the next person, or that one self-indulgent feeling better than the next person. The people have been taught, number one, that's a good thing, and number two, fear everything else. Okay, well, I could look at my world and go, I'm terrified of what's coming, except I've been here before, so it's kind of routine. It's funny, I was looking at the activity on the internet, and yesterday, quite seriously, it's like I didn't exist. Okay, now I can look at that and go, oh, nobody likes me, and I'm going to go, I'm going to go into a depression here. I could do that. And Lord knows there's a lot of people that do. The reality is, I had one phone call from a scam artist, and other than that, I had no contact. Okay, there was nothing that came in on email. There was nothing that came in through any of my social media. There wasn't even anything that came in through my website. Okay, so when I'm talking about nothing moved yesterday, it's like there was just a complete void. And I could let that get to me, but I'm looking at it going, okay, this simply means I know where I'm standing. And you don't get much quieter than absolutely no activity. So you take a look at it and you go, okay, this is what I'm targeting. Now, I've been watching things here. And where are we? Take a look at that. I'm certainly having trouble breaking that barrier of getting 300 subscribers. Now, this is why I tell people I'm an absolutely tiny fish in a lot of ways. But I know of people that have a smaller amount. Okay, but you put a boundary in place. Now, for me, I've hit the bottom line. I'm not going any lower on my finances. The end of this month will tell me where I'm starting. Because I'm pushing limits today. I've decided that I am still going for lunch this morning. I've got enough money left for one meal out, and that's it. Now, that's a little overstated, okay, because I've still got, I call it that's it. If push were to come to shove, I've still got 2 months rent, 2 months living expenses in the bank. Problem is that if I break that, because of the way my bank account is set up, and this is something to pay attention with yours, look at your limits. Okay. Now I don't know exactly what mine will be at the end of the month. I do know right now the $1,300 I've got sitting in the bank will cover my necessities. So when I get to the end of that, I will know exactly what I have to change. You've got to put boundaries in place where you can set a bottom line where it comes to your finances. Pick out and take a look at where you are. That becomes the bottom line right there. Not 6 months down the road. Okay, right there. Now, for me, I've set the marker because I know I've got money coming in at the end of the month from this month. I've gone, okay, on the first of the month, this is the amount of money I've got. And that number will become my absolute concrete bottom line. I won't go by it again. Okay, it's the same as I will when I get my credit card bill in. I'll be looking at that again by the end of the month and go, there's the top I'm spending, and then I'm going to drop it. Okay, and from there on, I'm simply taking my material world and driving it up. The other thing that you take a look at, okay, I have currently, we go back to here. Well, I have currently 283 section pockets in my house that have to be sorted. Now understand, the reason that number is so high is because what I did was I went to my bedroom and went, okay, I've got 3 bookshelves, each with five shelves and a top. Well, there's 18 of those pockets right there. Okay. And I will be going through them and getting them sorted out, getting rid of the clutter. Basic rule of thumb where it comes to clutter is this. Okay. Your basic rule is if you haven't been into a box, in a year, then the odds are you don't require the thing unless it is an actual keepsake. Okay, like for instance, in my collection of stuff that I'm keeping is I've actually still got the first Stuffy I ever won. That I ever won at the P&E, which is Pacific National Exhibition down in Vancouver, BC, Canada. Way back, I think it would have been 1975. Somewhere in the early 70s anyway. I really don't know the date anymore. But you take a look at that, and I'm hanging on to. So it'll be sealed up, put in a box, and left there. But I've got a storage area in my house where I can do that and not create a problem. Okay, and again, this is where you take a look. Like in my office, I'm quite content with the way my office is set up. The boundary for me is keep my working area clear. Okay, keep my finances in order and start getting rid of the clutter. Now, I used to be a professional pack rat, and the boundary for me was this. I no longer desire the garbage. Okay, I no longer desire all the excess. In going through stuff, there was a D&D game, a Dungeons & Dragons game that I played for a long time. My character went from literally a run-of-the-mill serf all the way to, quite seriously, he became a god of another universe. Now remember, we're talking Dungeons & Dragons. We're talking imagination, not megalomaniacal behavior. Okay, but in that campaign, I had developed a whole pile of different gods. Okay, we built our own pantheon in this new universe, and that worked out beautifully. Okay, what I was looking for was that list. And just yesterday, going through stuff and throwing out things I no longer desire to hang on to, I came across the list I was working for. And where the important part of that is, okay, is in every world that you work with, in every book, in every storyline that you ever look at, there's a background to it. Now, this list of gods that I've got means that when I'm writing the Yldrbacian Chronicles, I now have the appropriate people, the appropriate names, that I know who they were, I know how they behaved. Okay. And this again comes back to this everything being connected. Okay. But these are just things that you have to look at. Make sure you're content, first of all, with where you're sitting in life. If you are not content, then quite frankly, it's time to make some changes. It's not a question of whether you should or not, because should indicates what I feel you should do. This is not the case. Okay. I'm just telling you, if you're not happy, here's how to modify it, or at least here's how I have modified it. So with that in mind, I'm sort of taking a look at things and going, okay, we start with putting a boundary in that you're content with. This applies to what you're looking for. Okay, not what I'm telling you, not what the government is telling you, not what your friends are telling you. What you personally see as something you're not content with. Once you've got that boundary, make note of it, make sure it fits your outlook. And that's where the bottom line is. You put that boundary in place. For me, my office has been, in my working area, has been maintained on a pretty stable balance. Curiosity. Not over there. Don't know where it is. So I take this and put it out of the way so it's not a big problem for me at this stage. I'll slide it back in where it is. Okay, so I've got my workstation where it belongs. And then the idea is when you do something, when you move something, make absolutely certain, simple idea. You move something, put it back. Okay. And I mean, these are just simple ideas. But I've got my workstation here done. Over here, you can see a sheet of paper on my desk over here. That sheet, one of the boundaries I had was once I got everything sorted out, once I get an area cleared, keep it that way. Okay. Well, that sheet on the desk, all that is a list of the different books I'm writing in the Yldrbacian Chronicles and where I left off what chapter, what section I was writing in. So I know I've got right there, this is where I ended. This was the next step I was working on. It helps keep things organized. Okay, it's kind of like that section over there. I need to get the clutter off it. Well, you'll see the clutter is all gone. Everything there is inventory except these two baskets here, and I haven't moved them yet because I haven't figured out where to move them. Okay, but the shelves themselves are completely empty of all the clutter. Now that it's empty, and now that it's empty of that clutter, okay, even the stuff that used to be up here on top of the filing cabinet, there was a container there that is no longer there because it did not add to organizing. It actually just scattered things around a little. I know the little drawers that are pointed over here, those ones there. Okay, over in those drawers there are pens, pencils, that sort of thing. So I can walk in and go, I'm looking for pens and pencils. There they are. I know where the paper is stacked. Okay, because needless to say, I'm still pretty much a dinosaur. So the important factor from your end, absolutely critical, is that you have to take a look at the world and go, okay, where am I standing? Now, like I was doing before, and since I don't have it, I'm going to, because my throat's seizing up here, I will be back sometime later today, I'm hoping. I will certainly be back again tomorrow. Okay. But before my throat seizes completely, the important thing to keep in mind is if you're not content with the way your world is working, okay, be absolutely certain you start putting boundaries in place that are guidelines for you based on what you desire. Now, I will be back again, but until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.